What's good, everybody? It's welcome to Dope Interviews. I'm your host, Warren Shaw, here again with another dope interview. I'm so excited. We're keeping it gangster, professionally gangster. We're joined by a very, very special guest whose resume in the entertainment business, it's like no other. He's worked for worked with VH1, BET, right now got something going with the ABC network through Epix. I got my man, Markuann Smith here, the executive producer for The Godfather of Harlem, one of my favorite TV shows right now. Markuann, how the hell are you doing, family?
I'm good, brother. Thank you for having me on your platform, and I'm glad that you're enjoying the show.
Am I ever? Me and my wife. So I'm gonna be honest with you, and we'll get to this here in a little bit. But like, we haven't watched the second part of season 2 because we're one of those, like, we get irritated when we get to an episode and then there's nothing left to watch. We have to wait. So we're letting them stack up right now. We're letting them pringle up a little bit so that we can get to it. And, you know what I mean? Because we really enjoyed, what we've been watching so far, man. So kudos.
It's like going to the barbecue and just having a lot of Tupperware with you, right? And just packing it up with you when you leave, right?
Facts, my guy. Facts. So let's get into it. And before we get into the actual show itself, just wanted to learn a little bit more about you. Just how'd you get into this business, so to speak? Being executive producer, working in the entertainment industry for as long as you have, like, that's hard work. That's hard work. How'd you get here, and kind of, just kind of what led you to down this path?
I mean, I've always been acting. I grew up in Harlem, was raised in Far Rockaway, Queens. I think my first bite was I used to watch a lot of movies, and if anybody knows about Far Rockaway in New York, the last stop on the A train, it's like, it's out there. And it's not one of the best communities, it's somewhere where you have to, jump off the porch earlier or come out the mud and the quicksand. So I used to watch a lot of movies, man. I used to lock myself in a room, kind of like drowning out my surroundings, what was happening outside from gunshots and things of that sort, trying to stay out of trouble. So that really got me into, the art of creating. I used to watch movies like On the Waterfront, Rebel Without a Cause. One of my favorite movies is Once Upon a Time in America by Sergio Leone. Mm-hmm. So I used to love just the craft of storytelling, the art of that. And even, watching like certain directors, like, I could tell what's a Coppola piece or a Sergio Leone piece or a Scorsese piece. It was something that I just naturally grew into. My older brother was into music, and he's an artist by the name of Father MC. He was signed to Uptown Records. Getty used to be his A&R, and Andre Harrell signed him. And I remember just traveling with him on tour when he first got signed and being able to see the world and see different cultures. So it was just something that just kept me going. It was something where I didn't want to go back to the community that I was in. I wanted to escape that by any means necessary, whether it was just creating, whether it was just, through music. It was just something I didn't want to go back to.
Did you try your hand at music, with a successful artist already kind of in the family? I mean, you just dropped it like people don't know who you. We know who Father MC is over here.
Yeah.
You know what?
Absolutely. I was signed to Whitney Houston's label at one time. It was called A Better Place Inc. It was under Nippy Records. They had a group called Sunday, and another R&B artist by the name of Marcel. I was one of the artists I was rapping that was under her company. Unfortunately, the company broke off like earlier, and Merlin Bob was with Sylvia Rohn through Elektra, and Robin Crawford was the president of Nippy Inc. So I did. I've always loved music. I've loved creating and just performing.
Yeah, man. Well, you're going to take me down this path. Like, here in Dope Interviews, we don't keep it super linear. We go where the conversation takes us. So I'm a little bit more interested, not more interested, but interested in this as well, too. So, like you said, you was on tour. Like, what was that like? How old were you at that age, like, kind of be on tour? You know what I mean?
To be honest with you, it was wonderful, man. I was on tour with, I was a roadie. And for your audience out there who don't know, who do not know what roadies are, we did the grunt work, man. We didn't enjoy the high life of being on tour with the women and the after parties and things of that sort. I was carrying turntables, I was carrying suitcases. I was the first one off, last one on, But I also, met a good friend of mine by the name of Tupac Shakur, and Tupac was a roadie for Digital Underground, and Tretch was a roadie for Latifah. So we had a lot of fun, man, a lot of great times just traveling the country, actually traveling the world as well, and I just knew that this was a place for me to be at where I can just have a creative freedom.
Yeah, I feel you. So my father wasn't into it like that, so to speak, but he was a DJ in the New York area for the longest time. When I came up, I had to lift them crates and carry them the
Yeah,
turntables.
you know about those 1200s, and those coffins are like the size of a baby coffin. It was just like, no pun intended, but it was just like, wow, but it definitely gave me structure and discipline for life. I remember my first tour, I was on tour with Candyman, Troop, High Five, Second to None, AMG, Tony. And I was able to experience different cultures and different sounds. Like, I knew about West Coast music. I knew about DJ Quick. I knew about music in Seattle, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Kid Ice, Kid Sensation. I knew about, MC Breed. It was just, I was exposed to different things.
Nah, man, that's 100% live, 100%.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you shared that with me, dude, because I mean, again, like something I didn't know coming in, and that's actually really kind of cool to find out. So let's transition a little bit. How did the story of Bumpy Johnson kind of come to you and to kind of go down this path that you are with the show?
Like I said, I grew up in Harlem and was raised in Queens, and I remember coming up to Lenox Terrace every Sunday, man. And it was almost 18 years, and I was in an apartment of a young lady who's my godmother by the name of Markuann Johnson. And she used to tell me these magical stories of Harlem in the 60s. How she used to walk out of a building, a tenement building, and smell fresh laundry hanging out the window. Or walk past 125th Street, the Apollo, look up and see James Brown's name on the marquee. Or walk past Sugar Ray Robinson's barbershop, peep inside, you might see Nat King Cole waiting for a haircut, or Jackie Wilson getting a shape up or a shave. But she also told me about how Harlem had a lot of systematic racism. Like, people actually migrated, African Americans from the South, trying to escape Bull Connor's water hoses and his dogs, to still be dealing with racism in Harlem at the time. There were stories that were told to me by her that to even go do something as simple as go purchase a hat, store owner may say, you need to put a shower cap on your head before you put this hat on and try it on. Or even a Black family just wanting to go get a steak dinner on a Sunday, while the other patrons was inside eating, they had to sit outside and take it to go. Harlem was very magical, but a lot of racism was happening. And she also used to tell me about her grandfather. His name was Ellsworth Raymond Johnson. He was from Charleston, South Carolina. How he came to New York, he didn't come to New York to become a gangster. He came actually to come up here to become an attorney like Malcolm X did. He went to City College, and the bursar's office said, we don't give financial aid to colored folks. And he basically said, I'm going to make you regret those words. And he became Bumpy Johnson, what the streets know him as. But he wasn't just a gangster. He was the only gangster that was able to sit down with the 5 original families like Maya Lansky, Bugsy Siegel, Lucky Luciano, Vito Genovese, Frank Costello. They didn't look at him as a threat. They looked at him as a smart Black man who was the liaison from Pleasant Avenue to West Harlem, or Central Harlem, as you may call it. So Bumpy had, he was, like I said, he was more than just a gangster. He read Shakespeare. He read Nietzsche. It's urban legend that he beat Bobby Fischer in chess. And she wanted the real story to be told of her grandfather that wasn't told. Not what you saw in Hoodlum, not what you saw in the Cotton Club or American Gangster. Bumpy didn't die in front of 25 RCA TVs talking about Pepsi's the best product out there, like Blue Magic. He actually died in my character's arms in a restaurant called Wells of congestive heart failure. So I made her a promise almost 20 years ago that I would get the story done so the world could know who her grandfather was as a person.
My guy. So, I mean, that's a wild story in the way that it kind of came to you, and, you've been grinding with it. And we all know, like, in this business specifically, pitching is the key part. Like, so how did you get somebody to say, yes, green light this is where we're at right now? Especially because, we're in a better, quote unquote, better space to tell Black stories.
Yeah, everybody's betting on Black nowadays, but I tell people, don't look at my breakthrough, look what I've been through, because to get a show sold, it's not an easy task. I've got turned down by 3 networks with my big brother who's sitting next to me, who's an Academy Award winning actor, Forest Whitaker, and my other brother, Chris Brancato, who created the TV show Narcos, an Emmy nominated writer. So I got 1,000 no's, or we got 1,000 no's before we got one yes. And I tell people all the time, when you're pitching ideas and you're sitting down trying to create content, you have to understand at the end of the day, the suits creativeness is just plays a little part of it. You know, the big part of it is the ROI. What's the return on their investment?
Yeah.
So it was nights, nights and days that we didn't know where we were going with it and who was going to accept this risque project. But there was one person who believed in us, and his name is Michael Wright. He came from Steven Spielberg's company, Amblin Entertainment. And when he read the pitch and he saw the arcs of the story, he was like, I don't want to be coy about this. We have money and we want to get this project done. Right. And Michael Wright believed in us, and Epix came behind us with the system, ABC signature, and we got the show bought in the room.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So a true story of perseverance. Even a little bit how Bumpy was, kind of in some ways too. You had to transition and kind of stick to it to make it happen. Again, we're going to jump around here a little bit. We'll get back to more kind of the serious part of the show and kind of what's going on there. But to me, the show has one of the best intros in TV right now. Like that it goes hard.
We actually won an Emmy for that because we had the best title sequence.
Man, so I think, and I'm not in the industry like you, right? But I feel like some showrunners and producers, stuff like that, that's like kind of throwaway. Like they don't really think about like how important that is. It gets people every time that thing comes on, like I get hyped, you know what I mean? And I hear Swiss and I hear Rick Ross and so forth and so forth. Yeah. I'm like, just in case. I mean, the whole nine. What was your thought process, or who kind of like made sure like that was a
to be honest with you, big shout out to Digital Kitchen and Peter Pack who won the Emmy over there. It all came from sitting down, and I really didn't understand the importance of what a title sequence was until sitting down with Chris Brancato, the showrunner, and he said, how the theme for Narcos came about. And he said, that's what carries the show. Like if you watch Mad Men, they have a beautiful opening title sequence, or you're watching Narcos, how it makes you feel like you're actually in Medellin in the Colombian rainforest. It's really important that our opening sequence tells the story of what our series would be like. And I remember being in Jungle Studios with Swiss and Rick Ross being in the room, and Swiss Beats is one of the most amazing mad scientists that I know, and for him sitting there and we're giving him a clip of what the show is going to be like, he said, you know what, let me get some stuff together. He had Rick Ross there, and once he played that opening with the just in case, and going down to 125th Street, and it was just like, wow, this is it right here,
Nah, that bumps. It does bump. So congrats to you, your team, everybody who worked on that as well too. I mean, to me, it's already kind of iconic. There's certain things that you hear and like what it is when it's coming on. It definitely gets you hyped for the show each time it goes on there. One of the things that I think is like super amazing, and you've already talked about, Forest a little bit too, but the casting is crazy. It's bananas. Like it's bananas, and more people are added to season 2. I think like I said, I haven't been watching the second part of season 2 as of yet, but I think I just saw a clip with Whoopi in it, and I know meth has been added and things of that nature. Like, are people like just beating down the door? You know what I mean? You got Giancarlo, you got Forrest, you know what I mean? You got Vincent, like it's Chaz. It's a wild cast. Just how did you bring all this collective talent together?
Well, it wasn't just, it was a combination of different minds and the vision of different people, from Chris Brancato to myself, to Jim Atchison, to Paul Eckstein, to Nina Yang Bon Jovi, to Forrest. We all sat down, big shout out to Vicky Thomas and Meredith Tucker and Peachy, who was over at ABC at casting. It was just a combination of where we saw the characters and going, and who could tell the best story of the characters. You know what I mean? It's not really easy with casting, man. Even with Nigel, with Malcolm X, I had to beat down the door to tell him, I need to get Nigel in here right now, because I feel like he's the best person that can possibly play this character. And they couldn't understand why I was so determined. I was just like, I saw him in Selma. I need you guys to give him an opportunity. And I can remember standing in front of ABC casting. It was about 95 degrees weather, and I'm actually standing on the side of the building, and I got shorts on, and I see a yellow cab pull up, and Nigel comes out of the cab with Malcolm X attire. I mean, the overcoat, the suit, the white shirt, the black tie, the hat, the glasses. And when I went upstairs to casting and I sat down with the other executive producers, he walked in and he says this, I don't play Malcolm, I work Malcolm. And it was just an amazing, I was like, yo, I mean, there's nobody else that I personally want to see. Yeah. And Chris Mercado told me, he said, thank you, Markuann. Thank you for pushing so hard, pushing that button to get Nigel in.
No, that's the move. It's ironically, it's like you're peeking over my notes right here, right now, because I did want to talk about him specifically because we've seen Malcolm played in numerous movies, right? And it's usually short-lived, so to speak, but never over the course of a series kind of like this, unless I'm mistaken. Just, again, what type of dedication do you have to the craft to like stay in that character, such an iconic character, and bring life to him in a way that's so, again, that's moving every time you see him on screen?
Yeah, I mean, when Nigel's on set, he walks around, you know, constantly listening to Malcolm's speeches, from his mannerism to even something as little as the cleft in his chin. He goes to hair and makeup. He said, I want to make sure that we can replicate that, to how he fidgets with his ring when he's talking, to a little bit of hunchness, not looking lazy or slouchiness, but more into the character. I mean, he's an amazing individual, especially with the monologue after monologue he has to do every episode.
Yeah, man, real talk. So listen, you know, I'm gonna shoot my shot here, man. If you ever need an extra, somebody like a street vendor or somebody like that, you know, let me know, because I'm about that life. We're talking with Markuann Smith here, executive producer of Godfather of Harlem. Make sure you follow him at Markuann, and then also Charlotte following the show at Godfather of Harlem. Common spelling on for Godfather of Harlem. If you had to say a percentage of the show, right? Because all things that are based on real life, they have to make things for TV. Like, so how much of the show could you say is factual? Like, okay, these are the events as told to you or as you know them, versus how much you have to kind of put in there for TV.
I mean, that's really kind of a hard question because it goes on episode per episode. You know, we always say this, that this is not a documentary. And it's a big disclaimer at the beginning of the show saying, you know, these are not based on a lot of true events. These are, you know, similarities. So if you wanted me to say a number, I would say maybe about 60, 40, you know. But we try to hit it as much as possible, especially with the characters. You know, Malcolm's daughters came on set. Mm-hmm. Adam Clayton Powell's sons came on set, and so far we're doing pretty good. You know, I mean, there are things we can always improve on. You know, we're not 100% at all times, but we're open to criticism.
Well, again, like I said, you are in my notes. You are in my notes, Mark. So let me ask you this point blank. So what are some of the criticisms that you've heard from the show? And I've always kind of wondered when people work on things like this too, because you have trolls out there. You have people who are going to hate for the sake of hating, whatever. But sometimes there could be a valid point. You know what I mean? And none of us are above reproach. None of us are perfect. So for those who have sent complaints, what are some of the complaints that you've heard? And then say, you know what, hey, maybe we could have did this better, or maybe fix this or that.
I've always heard, you know, from the nation that we're not getting it right, and they wouldn't wear bow ties like this and things of that sort. And, you know, as a creator, man, I have to drown all that other stuff out and stick to what my job is to be creating. Because if you're not on set in the director's chair and you're not understanding, or in the writer's room, knowing what it takes to create a show, we don't get it right. Nobody's going to get it 100% right, you know. And like I said, I respectfully understand what people are saying, but we're not telling, once again, a documentary. We're telling a story that's entertaining and educational as well, and we're doing it to our best of abilities. Because a lot of times, even doing the research, I was at the Schomburg Museum doing a whole bunch of research. There's a lot of stuff that you can't find, so you would have to embellish. I mean, Bumpy was born in 1905. Anybody alive right now would have to be like 110 years old to understand and say, yo, I knew Bumpy Johnson. So it's all a lot of wives' tales, a lot of individuals that may be 85 and 90, but they still were little kids when he was alive. You know what I'm saying? So we have to just go in the research that we do, what we can find, and make it as accurate as possible.
So let me ask you this as well too. Do you have so far something that you're like, damn, we nailed that? You know what I mean? Like that's like your favorite scene or favorite show or episode rather, from the series thus far.
Oh man, I even the speeches that Malcolm is doing, that the writers have put together, like even like the bullet and the ballot, but you didn't see season 2, so I don't want to give you any spoilers. But
the first half of season 2. So
yeah, okay.
One of my favorite episodes. It's funny you mentioned that one because I was like, ooh.
Yeah. I mean, it's so relevant to what's happening right now in America, the POV, Muhammad Ali is our Colin Kaepernick, the Harlem riots is our the riots that are happening all across the country due to Black Lives Matter and to the law enforcement, how they're treating us, So we are trying to just show something that history is definitely repeating itself.
For sure. It's really interesting because I think that was a common theme in television. Anything that had to take a break or got extended due to the pandemic and then all of the social justice issues or whatever, it seems like some shows really made it a point. And some shows probably already going in that direction one way or another, you know what I mean? But those themes are constantly in what we're watching right now. And I think like The Battle and the Bullet is one of the best episodes. Like, I'm glad you brought that up. One of the best episodes in the series that I've seen thus far. I was like, yo, this thing, this is hard. And it's very similar to like, there's like, I think a line even in Narcos, it's like, it's the bullet or the money, you know what I mean? And that type of thing like that too. So like those really strong themes really, really do stand out, for sure. So have you been renewed for season 3 yet? Like what's good, man? What's up with Epix? What they saying?
We're still waiting. We should know in a couple of weeks. The network is very excited. The studios are very excited. The numbers are doing very, very well. I mean, I've heard that our premiere for the second season is 35% better than the finale for the first season. So, I'm hoping the film gods love it so much that they say, hey, we want you guys to get 2 seasons, but regardless if it's 3 or 4, we just want to create and make great stories, especially for the audience out here that loves Godfather of Harlem.
Well, I'm definitely one of those people. I think shows like these, they typically are what I've seen in the trend of TV is like a lot of like shows want to go 5 seasons, right? So to speak, and kind of maybe call it a wrap. Do you have something in mind, when you said 3 or 4 or when like?
Of course. I mean, our stories are based on history. And if you look at it, Bumpy died in 1968 in my character's arms. I play a character by the name of Junie Bird. And, he died of congestive heart failure. So our plan was to stretch it till his demise to 1968. Second season is 1964. Third to be 65. Fourth to be 66. Fifth to be 67. Sixth would be the end of Ellsworth Raymond Johnson.
That's what's up. Well, you see it. You already see it in your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put it on the page. So last couple ones before I let you get out of here, just what are you watching these days? Like what gets you excited, to kind of turn on the TV or go to the movies or get, screeners or whatever the case may be?
I'm a big documentary person. I love to go in history and really know the facts. I love a lot of unscripted stuff, meaning documentaries, docuseries. There's a great docuseries called Generation Hustle on HBO Max I've been watching, a 9-part docuseries on con artists who beat the system, or tried to beat the system because they all got incarcerated. But I like that. And I'm a fan of some of the Power series. I haven't really got into it, but I'm really into documentaries, man. I'm really into that.
All right. Last one, Markuann, before you let you peace out of here, just, what are some of your upcoming projects? I mean, I know you got to throw your heart and soul into this thing as well, too, but you are creative. You are a hustler yourself. What other irons do you have in the fire, my guy?
Well, I have an amazing project about DC that I'm very excited about. A Tale of Two Cities from the late 80s to the 90s. I'm very, very excited about that. I'm also working on a project about a police officer out of Queens who basically got his friends turn their backs on him. So we're waiting, we're seeing. I'm working on about a musical legend as well too. So I just want to keep creating good content, good narratives, and telling stories for us.
Well, I think you're doing an amazing job, and that's no fluff, no BS. I really do appreciate you taking the time and sharing part of your story, your vision of Godfather of Harlem, but even just being creative and, like you said, telling the stories of us as we're here as well too, which is so important and so needed right now. You know what I mean? And so, that's what's up. Markuann Smith, I want to thank you so much for joining us. This has been a dope interview. I'm your host, Warren Shaw. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Make sure you're following Markuann. Make sure you're following Godfather of Harlem. And if you don't have Epix, make sure you get it. Find it one way. Do it legally. And get these numbers up from my guy here. Markuann, we thank you so much for joining us. And it's been another dope interview, y'all. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you. And you can follow me also on Instagram at Markuann, Markuann, and on Twitter at The Real Markuann, DAREAL MARKUANN. And thank you for another dope interview.
My guy. Peace.
Peace.